Good morning gang, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at a couple of model aircraft. Now one of them is basically one that I bought second hand, but the other one, albeit an old model, is still in kit form, has not been built. But they are awesome models. This is going to be a good one, this is, guys. Let's get on with it, shall we? Well, as you can see, it is absolutely awful up here. We have just entered July and it feels like February. It's ridiculous the weather here in the UK. It goes from one extreme to the other. We've had about 3 or 4 days last week where the temperature was like 27 degrees, and then it sort of like plummets to 12 to 13 degrees like what it is today, and it's raining. Where the hell is summer? Right, the first one that we're going to be looking at is this. This is a Seagull Super Tucano, and I recently acquired this from an ex-club member who is basically downsizing all of his models. He wanted to get rid of all of his large stuff and basically just have small stuff that he could put in his car with the wings on to save any hassle and time. Now, I've already done some work on this. This Super Tucano that was made, like I say, by Seagull was originally designed for IC, and this one was converted, as you can see, to wattage power. Now, prior to the work that I did, the guy who had it before me got the batteries inside by lowering the undercarriage down and then putting them up into here. Now, to me, that's a bit of an absolute ball ache, really. So he said himself he was going to do it, so I decided to do it myself. I've made a hatch for this so that I can put the batteries in from the top, and it goes along the whole length of the fuselage of the canopy. Got a latch on there, and it comes all the way back to here, and it gives me full access to all the radio gear, the battery that I use for the receiver, and the 2 batteries that I use for the motor. It is running on 8S, and I've got 2 hard case 5200 4 cells that I use, and it gives me around about 5 or 6 minutes of flight time. The G110 is a discontinued motor, but it's still really good, 295 kV, and it produces quite a bit of punch. What are we going to do with it? Well, as you can see, we have green and grey on the wings. Now, although it is an authentic colour scheme, if you look at the green on the canopy to the green on the wings and the green on the cowl compared to the green on the wings, they're the wrong colour. They don't match. Now, they did this variation of aircraft in 2-tone grey. Now, as you can see here, I've used a light grey to cover the model where I made the hatch, because I had to cut the foam away to make the hatch work. You know, I didn't want to just cut it out and, you know, it'd look a mess. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mask off all the canopy and the cowl where the green is and whatnot, and on the wings where it's green, and I'm basically going to go and replace the green with a darker grey using my awesome Montana gold paints. So basically it's going to be a 2-tone grey, but the wingtips are going to have a fluorescent orange on them, and the tanks will also be painted a fluorescent orange. That way I can work out the orientation of how it is in the sky, because as you saw just a minute ago, predominantly the weather over here is crap and it's always a grey sky, and having a model this colour, even with the green on it, as I've flown it already, it goes into stealth mode, it disappears. It's pretty hard to see. So what I'm planning on doing, like I say, is making it two-tone grey. I'm putting the fluorescent orange onto the wings, so it'll give me some idea. That's the orange I'm going to be using. It doesn't look very fluorescent there on the camera, but it is actually quite bright. So yeah, I'm going to be doing that. That is plane number 1. Plane number 2 is a lot more interesting. Here is plane number 2. Yes, we have a unbuilt, unfinished Blackhorse Eurofighter Typhoon, and boy is it big. And I mean, I've had a 3-wing Typhoon before, but this is huge. It is pretty big. We are looking at, I think it is 1700mm long on the fuselage, and it has got a 4-foot wingspan, and it is going to be powered by a 120 fan on 12S, so it's going to go like stink. This is the project that we're going to be doing after we've painted the Tucano, and it's going to be great. It's going to be interesting. Let's get all the bits out that I've got for it, and I'll show you what we're going to do. Right, here we go guys, with all of the bits out of it, and as you can see, there is a fair amount of work that needs to be done to complete this really big model. Now, I've got everything that I need to build this kit. The only thing that I am missing are the 2 control arms that operate the canards, and the reason being is because the original Blackhorse ones that it comes with are made of like a nylon, and they've got a reputation of, when you tighten them up to put the control horns on, the control clevises on, they can crack, which then makes them loose, and then you've got no control over the canards, and they flap around and it causes the model to crash. So I'm currently having made for this 2 control horns that are made of polycarbonate, printed polycarbonate, carbon poly, 3D printed, but they're made out of like carbon fibre kind of print. They're really strong. They're going to be quite thick. They're going to be quite rigid, and they're not going to break, not at all. And I should be getting those on Saturday, but we're not going to get this done that quickly anyway, because there is a lot to do. But as you can see, it's quite a comprehensive model, and that is the fan. That is a 120 jet fan blade in a come on Rob, in a chain-sung shroud, and it has got a Het Typhoon motor in-runner inside, and it's pretty powerful. We've got a 160 amp Diamond VTX ESC that we're going to be using. We have a 20 amp Beck that we're going to be running all the servos on, and the receiver as well. That is a Yep 20 amp ESC. They're Beck. They're very good. They are. I've used them in a lot of models, as has a few other guys at the club. So yeah, there's quite a bit to do. Now the retracts, these are retracts that I got off a fellow club member from a Blackhorse MiG-29, and they're rated to, I think it's 12 kilos, something like that. So they're pretty hefty retracts. Now the nose wheel, let me see if I can find the nose wheel. That's not it either. Here it is. Right, this is the nose wheel leg that came with the Typhoon. Okay, that nose wheel leg there was on the Blackhorse MiG-29. If you look at the difference, if I put them side by side, look at the height difference. Get it in, get it in. See the height difference? Okay, the MiG-29's leg is about 1 inch longer than the one for the Typhoon. See if I can get them side by side. There, you can see the difference. But I'm going to use the MiG-29's leg instead of the Typhoon's leg, because basically what you'll get what we've found with these kind of models, we did it with the free-wing Typhoons. A lot of us have had the free-wing Typhoon, and we were finding that when we were taking off, because the aircraft was level, it was very difficult to get it off the deck. And then you get a fair amount of speed up, then suddenly it just go lit and shoot up. And how we got away with that was we used to pack plywood underneath the nose wheel leg mounts, so it would drop the nose wheel down about an inch or so. And then what that did then is it gave the aircraft that kind of attitude on the ground. Obviously not that much, but it gave it increased incidence on the ground. So when you used to take off, you used to accelerate, and because the wing was up at a slight angle, it used to lift off the deck a lot easier. So what I'm doing with this, I'm going to use the longer leg from the MiG-29, which will lift the nose of the Typhoon up, and it'll enable me to get off the ground a lot better. So that's one modification that's already been done, because it came with the undercarriage retract itself, and he's just said, no, you can keep it. The only thing I have got to do is, if you look, I don't know if you can see that, that's level, but the leg is pointing back. It's slightly bent. That pin is bent, so I'm going to take the pin out of the, where have I done with it? There it is. I'm going to take the pin out of here, out of this one, and I'm going to use this pin in that leg, basically, so it'll be nice and straight again when it comes to. But what I am hoping isn't going to happen is, because this leg is going to be a little bit more longer, it's not going to be able to retract. You know, it's sitting down here, and I'm worried it's too long and it won't actually retract up because this bit here isn't long enough. I may have to modify it, but we'll see what happens when it comes to that. So that's going to be done in a bit, but first of all, we're going to get this painted up, because I've been wanting to do this for about 2 or 3 days now. She's going to look good. It won't take that long, and then once that's done, I'm going to be here all day. We'll start working on the Blackhorse Eurofighter, which I'm really looking forward to. This thing is a monster. When you've got the nose cone on and the jet pipes on at the back, it is pretty powerful looking, and it is big. I'm looking at putting inside the back of the nozzles here, I'm looking at getting 2 light burners that work off the throttle, so when I'm going flat out, it'll have reflective tape inside here, and it will light the back up like the burners are on, so it'll give it a nice burner effect. Hopefully that's what I'm planning anyway. And I'm going to fit nav lights to this as well. I'm still waiting for them to be delivered, but I'm going whole hog on this. Now the only downside is it's this here, Gina. Right, it is from a Typhoon from, I think it was 2016. They did this colour scheme, and I'm not going to be like, I'm not a fan. I never have been a fan of it. So I'm going to leave it as it is for now. Get the model all built, get it flying, see how it flies, and once I'm happy with its performance, I'm going to repaint it. And as a lot of you know, I'm a big Bavarian Tigers colour scheme fan. So I'm going to do it in probably the latest Bavarian Tigers display colours, or I might just paint it grey. We'll see what happens, see how I feel. So let's get on with the Tucano, and then we can come back to this later on. Well, that took a bit longer than what I was expecting, guys. 4.5 hours, but damn, was it worth it. I don't know what it is with these GoPros that they never show the true colour of the wingtips. These wingtips look yellow from what I'm looking at here on this screen, but they're actually bright orange. They're fluorescent orange, but god damn, it looks good. So that was what I wanted to achieve on that today. It took me 4.5 hours, like I say, but it looks a hell of a lot better than what it did. Like I say, the camera just does not do it justice. I've got 2 decals left to put on, which I've got to go down the side of here, which is something like Aaron Brasilia, whatever it is. I've got to print them out tonight and then coat them, and then I'll be able to put those on. And then once I've got those on, I'm going to give the whole aircraft a coat of semi-gloss, semi-matte, whatever you want to call it. Glass half full, glass half empty job. varnish to seal it all in. But wow, it looks so much better in two-tone grey than it did in green and grey. I just wish these wingtips would look the colour that I'm seeing at most, because like I say, to me they're ultraviolet orange. To you and the camera they look like they're yellow. Maybe they'll look a bit different back on the computer, but who knows. But yeah, so that is that done. Time to start on the Typhoon. Okay guys, right, we've got a lot of hatches and holes and things in this model. Obviously you've got your top hatch here, which is where your batteries will go in there, and we've got an area here for 2 servos for the canards as well. And then here, I'm sure if I'm not mistaken, that's where the electronic speed controller will go. And then turning it over carefully, cheese, we have a hatch here, that is where the front undercarriage leg goes. We've got another hatch here for the steering servo arm, which is run by Bowden cables. You can just see there the cable outlet that comes out, because it's on a pull system for the undercarriage. Then obviously we've got the main wheels here, which we've got these things here which will go in where the wheels go. And then this big hatch here is where the fan goes. Now, like I said, this is a 120 millimeter fan, 120 mil fan. It's pretty big, and it runs through a bifurcated system, bifurcated 1 into 2. But these have got to be cut to, I think the diameter of these need to be 75 millimeters, and the actual back of the jet nozzles here have already been trimmed down to the diameter that it needs to be. So these have basically got to be, they've got to have acetate sheet added to them, acetate tubes, to make them a little bit longer, probably about 2 or 3 inches longer, so that they come flush with these jet nozzles at the back here. Now I'm planning to put some LED burner lights in here, so the plan is to fit the burner lights and then the acetate tubes, and then I'm going to fit the burner lights. I've got some aluminium foil tape, polished foil tape, which will go on the inside, and then the tubes with the acetate on will come through, and it will enhance the light for the burners, so when you throttle up it'll be quite bright, like you would normally see on a Typhoon. So that's the plan for those. I'm also going to put a complete nav light set on this model. I've not got them yet, but I will be putting a complete set of nav lights on this, because I thought I might as well go full hog. Pink, I didn't do that. So that's basically the plan for the rear end. The nose cone is held on by 3 lugs and a screw. Now I'm not actually sure whether I'm just going to hold it on with a screw or not. I'm hoping so, because it's pretty long. As you can see, it's nearly 6 foot long, so I'm going to need to have as much removed as possible, and this is the only thing that will come away, because the jet nozzles at the back, even though they're pinned in with 3 pins, they won't come off, they'll be epoxied in place. So I'm hoping that this will go on nice and snug, and that bolt will tighten it up and hold it in place. So we've got a lot to do. Where do we start? I don't know. Now I'm trying to find, there should be in here somewhere, you've got a slot here, a slot, and that slot basically is for that there. Can you see that on the bottom of the wing, or sorry, let's say on the side of the wing at the front? That slides into this slot here, and there would normally be a, oh hang on, there it is, I can see it, it's hiding. Can you see that there? They've covered the hole where you've got to put the screw through to bite down onto the latch that's in there to hold the wing in place. So we need to get a piece of hot wire into there, melt the film, because I don't cut it with a knife. I get a hot wire and then melt it, and it sort of like cauterizes it, if that's what you want to call it. So we need to get that done on both sides so that they're visible. As far as everything else goes, it's going to be pretty much straightforward. I've got to cut the film off here to epoxy the tail fin on. So the tail fin is held on by 2 carbon fibre rods, but I'm not going to epoxy it straight onto that because it'll come off. So I'm going to cut away the film here where the fin is going to be mounted, and the bottom of the fin, if I believe right, yeah, the bottom of the fin's got no film on it anyway, so I'll put the epoxy on that to give it a good adhesion. I'll scratch the surface as well with a knife to give the epoxy something to adhere to. What else are we going to do? I don't know really. I don't know. I've got to put the servo. No, the servos are already in the wings, and the control cables are already connected to those. I've got to put a control cable onto here. I've got to cut out the film for the holes for the canards as well. But one thing I do need to have a look at is this retractable undercarriage. I want to see if this, when it's folded up, will fit in this hole here, because like I said, I want that nose leg higher up than the original one, because I want it to stand like that effectively when it's set on the ground, because it'll make it easier to take off. So we'll get that put in place and we'll have a quick look and see if it works. Right, so I'll get the old faithful, that's the wrong way around, that is. We'll get the servo tester out anyway and plug that in, and we'll get the retract to retract. It's just oh, they're quiet. That's nice and slow. I like that. Make sure it goes back up. Yep. Right, so we'll unplug that now that that's retracted, and pray that it will fit inside without me having to cut. Dang it. Oh, bugger nuts. Right, I didn't really want to do that, but we're probably a good, well, I'd say this whole section here would need to be removed to get the wheel to retract up fully. Now, there is another option, and that option is to check the other wheel and see how well that sits in there with the other undercarriage leg, I should say, and then possibly it may still be sat quite nice height anyway, but we'll put the other nose leg on and we'll have another look and see how much we've got to play with, to be fair. Right, that pin is bent to buggery. Let me just move that spring out of the way. If you look, let's try and see that. See how it's bent? So I don't really want to use that. So the new leg that came with the kit was obviously not bent. So for me to change this over, I'm going to have to take the retractor apart, take the trunnion out, try and get the pin through, which is going to be a pain because it's bent, and then put this one in its place, because, well, like I say, that's too badly bent, and if I try bending that back, it's just going to weaken it even more and the leg's going to eventually snap. So I'll take this all apart and then I'll put the put this one in instead. Right guys, I'm going to have to go with option B, which is unfortunate, but we're going to have to go with the original leg that came with the model, purely and simply because I cannot get the pin out of here. I've been able to straighten it out with some heat and a bit of tampering with a hammer, and I've got it like nice and straight. So I think the option for this to get the nose wheel up is I'm going to have to pack some 1/4 inch ply underneath here, on here basically, which will bring the nose up 1/4 inch It just means that the retract is going to sit more there, and the nose wheel will be sticking out the bottom of the aircraft a little bit more than what it should do, but I can live with that. So oh well, never mind. That's just the way the cookie crumbles, as they say. Right guys, I'm going to put the pylons on to the wingtips, but what I'm going to do first is I'm going to actually, I don't know why I'm doing that, because I'm a stupid idiot. Instead of heating that up, this is film on here, so to get a good adhesion I'm going to cut away this part of the film here. Hope you can see my big fat head ain't in the way, is it? No. So it still leaves about 3mm either side of the actual wing, because we don't want to cut away too much and then have it basically peel away. So if I can get that, oh, that's bonded on well, that has. That's a good thing, not a bad. So we'll pull that away, and there we have the holes for the pylons. Now the port wing, which is the left to those of you from foreign countries, is this one here. You've got two different pylons that go on the wings. You've got one with a flat back and one that is basically like a anyway, you'll put that into there, make sure it fits test fittingly, and it doesn't. You see, now if I hadn't tried that and I just tried to put it straight on, the chances are, I wonder, nope, they're the same. So I've got to cut away some of this here to allow these to sit in, and I will use my Dremel for that, and it looks like they're not actually in line, so I've got to take a bit off this down here. I've got to go at the bottom, take a bit away from the bottom, and it appears like I've got to come down on that one as well. So I'll get my Dremel out for that, and I'll use my Dremel to cut that. Right guys, for that I'm going to use my Dremel, like I say, and I've got this, I suppose you could call it a diamond cutter, but it's a flat cutter, quite cylindrical, so it should help in some respects. Let's have a look. Noisy twat. Right, so a little bit at a time. So that now fits, and that's actually perfect. Let me just bring the camera around here and show you. This was originally too high. It was like up, kind of up by about 1mm or so, but that now fits nice and flush and how it should. So I can mix the epoxy up now and basically add that to this pylon to this wing, and I'll do the same to the other side. A little bit too high there, but the epoxy should hold the film in place. Whoop. Although saying that, this stuff is well and truly stuck down. I don't think it's an iron-on film, I think it's actually a vinyl, but it certainly sticks well, as you can see. We'll scratch that surface up a little bit so we don't forget. Go both directions, slight angle, and we'll bring the other one up and we'll make that up, and we've literally just got to make the hole slightly bigger at the bottom. So quickly do that. Try it again. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. It's a little bit tight, but it won't matter. So, these are made of ABS plastic. Very flimsy. Very easy to scratch. And because I've got these pegs here, I would normally sand this, but just cutting it at an angle deep enough so that it goes through the paint and into the plastic, literally in a cross hatch shape without trying to cut your finger. Famous last words. It just gives something for the epoxy to embed itself into and grip, and because we've done it on the actual outer wing panel itself here, then it should get a good bond with epoxy. Like I say, just cut through the paint and slightly into the plastic, not too much, you don't want to go right the way through. There we go. That's quite, you can hear that. So that now will be a good key for the epoxy to embed itself into, and the same on the wing there. So now I can mix my epoxy up and stick both of those on at the same time. Get a bit of electrical tape. I use electrical tape because it's stretchy and it won't pull off the vinyl as well. So get the epoxy mixed up and we can stick them both on. When it comes to mixing epoxy, try and get enough to do both, but try not to waste too much either. You don't want to waste epoxy. This is a 5-minute epoxy that I'm using, which is more than enough. Make sure you get the lid on right way around as well, because if you don't, the mixing it goes up. Get on there, it's not going on. There we go. Right, I'm using this little tub thing that came with the epoxy. It's great for mixing. Give it a good stir. I'm not teaching you guys to suck eggs, I'm sure a lot of you know how to use epoxy. Big dollop of it there for some reason. Like I say, this is a 5-minute, so you need to be pretty quick, but you should have plenty of time to get both pylons mounted and put in place. Spatula. Give it a good coat. Don't be too scared to squish it in, and make sure you get some in those pegs as well, where the pegs go, because you want it to adhere to as much surface as possible. Okay, you don't need it on both, as long as you put plenty on. Now I use an alcohol wipe as well. I always have an alcohol wipe clear and handy. That way then you can get that comes out. So let's pop that in, squeeze. You squeeze the worst of it out, get your alcohol wipe and wipe off what it's squished out. And the same on the bottom. There we go. That's good. And we'll get some electrical tape. Here's some I made earlier. Just snap a bit off, put it on, pull it tight, and wrap it around. And then do the same at the front. I'm trying to do these videos without time lapse and music because I keep getting done by YouTube for copyright and it's pissing me off. Right, let's quickly put that one to one side. That's going to be good as it is. Just move that out of the way quickly, and then we'll get the other side and do the same with that one. Get what's left of it. There's enough left in here. See, that's starting to go off already. Slop it on. Fill hole. Try and get as much as you can out of your there we go. There's loads on there. Fold your alcohol wipe inside out because it's going to be covered in epoxy on the other side from where you wipe to the other one. That's the air ambulance. It's just gone over and it sounds like it's going into the hopper. Get that. Push it in and squeeze. Nice. Get your alcohol whip. Get the poo off. Same on the bottom. Let's see, get all that crap off there. And then you get your tape, just like before. See, that one's not as tight as the other one. Squeeze, pull, stretch. Make sure it's stuck on both sides, which it is. And then the same again with the other side. Push, stretch, pull and stick. Because it's a 5-minute epoxy, that tape will hold that good and fast. And there we go, there's the two pylons fitted. Now some of you may have noticed this has got slats on it, but they're not any good. They're useless, absolutely useless. They had them fitted to the MiG-29 and they've had them fitted to this and they do nothing at all. So these ones have been blocked off. You can see they've been nicely packed with wood inside there. And then what I'll do is I'll get some tape and I'll just put some tape over this to cover the gap to make it a bit more streamlined. That's where the servo went, or should have gone, for the slat, but like I say, we don't need it. Ailerons and elevators are pre-fitted already, as you can see. So, but yeah, that's that bit done. Let's crack on, shall we? My memory card's nearly full. That's not good. Right, guys, I am doing this by the instructions. I'm basically building this per the instructions. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to do exactly what the instructions say, because, for example, it doesn't tell you to cut away the film here to stick the fin onto, because the fin's the next stage. And also, it tells you to stick it on with Sino, super glue, contact adhesive. Nope. This is a significant structural part of the model. And CA glue, albeit good for bonding quick, is not strong enough to hold a big fin that's like nearly 15 inches tall. So I'm going to use epoxy. Now also, it doesn't tell you that obviously you've got a rudder here connected to the fin and a rudder cable, and it's just showing you to basically connect it in via a carbon tube that we've got that goes in through here. But it mentions nothing about extension leads. You need extension leads to run along the top of the airframe and down the side and to the front to where the to where the receiver is going to go. So before you do anything regarding fitting the fin, you need to get the extension lead fitted. Now, I don't know if you can see this. Let me try and get the camera in position and see if you can see down there. I don't know if you can see at the top there, there's a channel that runs all the way down, and there's like holes, slots in the tops of the formers. You've got to run your wire through there, and then you've got to come around the side and around the side of the ducting and out through the front, so you don't have any wires going into the ducting at all. You don't want to, you know, interfere with any of the ducting whatsoever. So we'll get that fed through, and I'll show you exactly where I'll put it after. Hopefully you'll be able to see. I might need a torch for that, but hopefully you'll see. Right, you can see here, this line here and here, all the way along, is where I've marked the fin. Now I'm not actually going to cut that line there, because if I do that, you're going to see the wood. So I'll remove the carbon tube, which is what we use to mount it, and I'm going to cut away, again leaving about 3mm from the end all the way along where the fin has got to go. Oh, missed. Keep going. That's it. And then same again, 3mm. Oops. So easy to cut along the grain, and it follow the grain, and then it knackers you up. And then here at the back, just cut that there, and then we'll lift the film away, which again is pretty darn stuck, which is a good thing, not a bad. Get rid of that. And then while we're here, we'll scratchy. That's filler. Something again for the fin to key into, and we'll do the same on the fin. I'll quickly do that off camera. You can hear me scraping, scrape, scrape, scrape. Some of the wings on my planes are the same size as this tail fin. Whoops, don't cut the cable of the servo, Rob. Right. So that's that done. Right, now I've got 2 extension leads here that I've had to put together, because I've measured them down to where it needs to go to the front, and I needed 2. So I'm just going to feed them through now. I am running out of disc space on my... Yeah, I am. I've got 15 minutes left. Right guys, I've fed the cable through. Let me back a bit because I don't think that's going to focus. I've fed the 2 cables through here, which is where the servo lead comes out from the back of the fin. But I'll take that up so that it doesn't pull through. So I'm going to feed it all through now. And the way I'm going to do it is, because we've got so much big access points at the bottom, as you can see there, there are a lot of access here for me to run it along the top there. So I'm going to feed all that through now, and then bring it out from the side and up to the front. Right guys, I've got it all installed now. So we've got, ignore that for a minute. That's your rudder cable that's running through here. It runs all the way along here, and then it comes out here, and then I've hot glued the cable once. I've taped it as well to stop it from coming apart. Even though it's a, what do they call it, a JR coupler where it snaps together, but I've still put tape around it anyway. Dollop of hot glue to hold it in place there and there, and when it goes underneath the plate and comes out here to there. So that's a rudder servo fitted. Now I can mix some epoxy, coat this. I'm going to put some epoxy into there, push that down into there, coat that with epoxy, then slide it down, connect that, bury that, and then secure it with some tape to hold it in place basically. So let's do it. Right guys, once again, even with the JR connectors on these extension leads and whatnot. I'm still taping up the plug from the servo for the rudder. Better to be safe than sorry. Right, I can now put epoxy on tube and in and on, and let's get it stuck. Right, we've got the epoxy mixed. Let's give that a wipe quick. So I'm going to place some epoxy on this here, and then I'm going to squeeze it down in hole, because this is fiberglass inside here that it's going into. That'll give that a good squeege, 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 squeeze. Oh, I say. There we go. Right. Don't need to worry about that too much, and we'll get the rest of it. And put it on. And don't forget, it doesn't matter about putting it on too liberally. Get some in there as well, because you've got a rod that goes through there, but it's not got a fiberglass tube like the other one has. Now the back. Big blobbings. Try not to get any on the servo wire if I can help it. I don't want to get the servo wire stuck, just in case I need to get servo wire out. There we go. Get rid of that. Lift it up. Put your watch in the epoxy. Idiot. Right. And then here comes the best bit. I didn't put epoxy on there, did I? I've got enough here. Get some of that crap that's there and over. Ugh, I hate this stuff. Right. Try again. Put that in the hole. Yeah. Stuff gets everywhere. Down we go. Slide it in. And squeeze and push. And squeeze and push. Right. Now that should, in theory, be cock on straight. And it is, which is good. So now we get spatula. Get the worst of that epoxy off. Oops. Oh, there's a lot there. Oh, God, I hate this stuff. Right. Alkyl wipe ×2. Before it sets, because some people don't give a toss about doing stuff like this. They just squish it on and leave it, but I think it makes them look really messy. As long as you've got enough epoxy where it should be, you don't have to be an untidy son of a git and leave it all messy. Absolutely unnecessary. At the end of the day, you want your model to look nice. First thing people are going to comment on is how your tail is all covered in epoxy and you've not cleaned it off. There we go. And these alcohol wipes are just perfect for them. Just look at the crap there that I've pulled off. Right. Right, oh, where's my screwdriver? There it is. Let's just get that tea. Actually, no, I don't need to do that. Right, where's these holes? I need to combine these holes while that's going off. I don't think that's going to lift, is it? Because it's, no, it's sucked down good and proper. I could actually put some of this clear tape along here. Shall I do that? It's invisible tape. Why the hell not? It won't hurt, will it? I can always peel it off if I don't like it. Where's my squeezers? They call it invisible tape, but I can still see it. Look, there it is. Get it on straight. Actually, it is invisible. Virtually. Go. I need to help it bond, to be fair, but there's no reason why I can't leave it on. It won't hurt. Let's do it to the other side. On the other side. Shit. Okay, snip that and pull that, and that's that. Get Kniffer there. Where's Kniffer? Who's nippy Kniffer? There it is. We just slit that bit at the front there, and then that tucks in nicely and doesn't leave. There we go. That's it. Marvellous. So at least we've got a seam now. What should I say? A seal. Come on. There we go. Perfect. And that's the fin fitted. Looks weird at the back without the nozzles. Right, so next stage according to this is the canards. Now, like I mentioned to you earlier on, I haven't got the connections, the control horns for the canards. I can glue the epoxy, I can epoxy the carbon rods in to the canards, but I've got to wait for these two pieces that are being made for me. And basically what they're like large control horns basically that you get on a servo, similar kind of thing, but they're made of carbon, so they're going to be really strong and they're really thick as well. And literally the two servos, the arms will bolt into them, so it'll make it really secure and it will not fail. It will not fail. I'll also be able to drill through the carbon rod that is in the actual plane itself, drill through it and put a bolt right the way through the control horn and the rod and out the other side, so it's going to be so much stronger. So, but I can still put carbon tubes in, I think, in canards. I can scratch them all up and put them in, so let's have a look at them. Right guys, from working on the canards, these tubes that these go into are actually fiberglass and they're solid all the way through. So because I'm epoxying them in, what I'm doing is I've drilled a small hole that's gone through the wood and through the fiberglass tube, because what happens if you don't do that, when you push the carbon rod in, because it's a solid rod and it's not actually a tube, when you push the tube in and you compress it down like that, you get like a hydraulic compression with the glue and it pushes the rod back out. So if you drill a tiny little hole where, you know, through where, right at the very end where the rod goes, when you push it in, you push the epoxy in, you can rotate it around and it'll squeeze the excess like crap out of the hole there, and it just stops it hydraulicing, as I call it, and pushing the rod back out. So you then know that you've got a rod that goes right the way through. And do that on both the canards, because the last thing you want is for your rods to be too long or not in enough, because they've been hydraulically pushed out by the epoxy. So it's a good thing to remember that, guys. You want to make sure as well that you score the carbon rods as well, and I do that by literally creating a saw effect while rolling the tube, and it creates like a spiral shape all the way down. Do it a couple of times in one direction, no reference to the boy band, and then you do the same opposite direction then. And then what you're left with is a nice jagged zigzag crossing effect that will help the epoxy bond to your canards. So let's get some epoxy mixed up and get them fitted. Right, you're not going to need to mix a lot, guys, even to do both, but you need to get as much inside that tube that you can, as well as on the actual carbon rod itself, because you want to make sure there's plenty of glue in there. The last thing you want is for these canards to come loose when you're flying. It could be rather disastrous. So put some on the tube as well, give it a good smear, and also put some right on the very end as well. I've also scratched the end of the rod as well, the cod. What am I on about? Right, now if my theory works, you should see some epoxy squeeze out that hole. There you go, see it? See that come out there? It just stops it from hydraulicing and stops it from pushing it back out. Give it a rotate, make sure it's nice and worked its way all the way in, and then quickly get your isopropyl alcohol, or your alcohol wipes as it is in my case. Grab a couple because you always need more than one, and then wipe that bit off there quick, get rid of that, and wipe any other bits that have dripped and come out of where you're done. So that's that one. And while we've still got some left, put that to one side, get the other one, make sure we've got it on the right side where we've scratched it all. Oh well, I'll just put some on the tube there and I didn't mean to, but okay, on the rod I mean. That is a rod, not a tube. Again, fill that up with as much epoxy as you can get. in there. Push it down if need be. Scrape off the worst. Put it on tube rod. Keep calling it a tube. It's starting to go off already, this stuff is. It's good stuff. Araldite. And again, if our theory has worked, I'll push it in and you should see epoxy squirting out that little hole there. Come on, in you go, in you go, in you go, in you go. No, not a lot came out. Oh, horrible stuff to work with. Let's get another one. My card's nearly full. I've got 24 seconds and I'm going to have to load some of this, offload some of this onto, I'm getting epoxy everywhere, look. I'm going to have to offload the card. Oh God, it's everywhere. There should be enough. Put them side by side. Exactly the same, and there we go. That's your canards done. Morning gang, it's the next day, and as per usual, it's a nice day, but it's blowing an absolute hoolie up here. We've got gusts of around about 30 mile an hour, so there's going to be no flying done today. However, that's not going to stop what we're doing. We're continuing work on the Blackhorse Eurofighter 2000 Typhoon, and we left off yesterday by gluing the canards rods in together, but I've found that the actual clips that are in here, not the clips, the brackets that the carbon rods go through, they're a little bit tight. So what I've done is I've undone them and took them off, and I'm realigning them, but I've also put an 8mm drill through there and just opened up the holes very slightly, and I mean very slightly, and it's literally to give it a lot more movement, because they were really stiff before, whereas now, as you can see, they fall under their own weight. That was because I don't want a tight fit when it comes to the servos operating these, because it'll just drain the power to the servos. So I'll get these put back in, and then hopefully everything will be all nice and smooth again. So what I've done is literally, I mean, they were previously mounted and there wasn't a problem with them mounted the way that they were. They still fitted fine, but they were just really tight. So what I've done is loosened them off, so that we can get a more free moving tail canard, as you can see here, because I was pushing them in and they were going through the first hole, no probs, he says. No, it won't line up. They were going through the first hole, no problem, but when it came to the second hole, they seemed to be really stiff, and I think that is literally down to the fact that the canards, like I say, were slightly out of alignment with the holes. So now that I've re-drilled them and realigning them, it's a lot easier when it goes in and out, so that's a good sign. So I can now screw these back in to where they were originally. That's one. Check again, make sure it's all good, and it is. Screw the second one down. Try again, and we're all good. It's nice and loose now. So what I'm going to do is just back off the screws a little bit so that it doesn't clamp them back down completely, and then I'm going to get some of the super glue that I've got here, and I'm just going to drop it down to where the bracket meets the wood and let it soak in, and then I can tighten them down So we've got a bit of extra security with the super glue and with the actual bolts themselves, or the screws is in this case. Now, one thing I didn't show you is that the screws, I've put some U-Hoo contact adhesive, not contact adhesive, well I suppose it is. Put some U-Hoo on the screws, so when the screws go into the wood they actually bite and they will finally stick down. Let me just get, where will I put that then? Bear with me guys. Just get a little bit of U-Hoo. It's got to be U-Hoo guys, not normal U-Hoo glue. U-Hoo, and you just pour a little bit on one side of the thread. Give it a quick rub round. Wipe the rest of it off on your table, and then put the screw in. And what that does, it just gives an extra bit of security for the screws. Because it's U-Hoo, if you need to get the screws out again, which to be fair you shouldn't do, it will basically, with a little bit of leverage, undo. That's still going in nice. And then the same again with that screw. Oops. Get in there. Screw. So now what we've got is we've got a nice loose bracket, and the canard moves nice and freely. So when it comes to me putting on the carbon control horns that I've got coming, these are not going to move. They're glued down, they're bolted down as well with 4 screws, and this is nice and moving smoothly. I will probably still I use bearing grease on my helicopters, and a little bit of bearing grease on this plastic here, either side of there, will not hurt it, and I'll do that and it will give it a little bit more lubrication. So I'll get that other one done on the other side, and then that's the canards ready to go basically. Just a quick one guys, the Tucano that we had at the beginning of the video, these are the decals that I made for it, which Forca Area Brasiliana, if that's how you, or Forca, that goes on the side of the fuselage as that does on the other side, but not as you can see it there, they go side by side, the letters, so it's like Forza Area Brasilia. And then we've got the Pericolo and Danger Ejection what's-its to go on, and a couple of hot blast vents as well that I need to replace. So, but we'll do them later on. Let's carry on with the Typhoon. Another quick tip as well guys, when you come to using super glue, one of your biggest pet peeves, I know it's mine, is the lid always seems to stick on. And I've said before in previous videos that you can put silicone grease around, but another thing that works as well, if you've got this, every time you go to use it, when you finish using it, just tap it 2 or 3 times, and then it pushes all the glue down. You can put the lid back on and it doesn't stick. Hey presto. Right gang, for the canards we've got, these are the plates that the servos are mounted on. Now I've got here, this is a Metal Gear servo rated up to 11 kilos of torque. I've got 2 of those, one for each canard, and I've made these as well. You've got your normal standard size, standard disc shaped control horn on there, but I've made these out of carbon fibre, and 4 screws in there, and then I've got 3 holes drilled here, and just for now I'll put this on the end. So these are really strong, really strong. So I've got 2 of them. These arms and this combination should be really strong on this aircraft, and that's what I'm looking for. But what I need to do first is centre the servos, because there's nothing worse than putting the servos in model and then finding out later on when you come to set it up that they're not centred and it's all out of cock and you've got to start again. So I always centre mine first before I install my servos, because at least that way then I know they're not far away from it. So that's really bright. Right, so that's centred. I'm going to put one there. That's right. And then that one. No. That's it, that way. That one there and that one there. Now, because these are going on separate channels, I can adjust them individually when it comes to actually mounting them. God, that is bright on that LED. So now I know that they're centred, I can put screws back in like so. Oh. Oh. Doesn't matter about moving because I know they're in the middle where they need to be anyway. These are metal geared digital servos as well, by the way, guys. They're not analog servos. I wouldn't use analog servos with plastic gears on a canard. Not in a model this size. Too risky. Oops. So now we've got that in there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to mount some in the tray. They are tight, but that's how much I like it. No, actually, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get this stuff. Where's my squeezers? Let's get my scissors out. I'm going to put this stuff underneath the servos as well. I need 2 thicknesses because there's a gap. So I'll do that, and then cut that there and do the same but to the other one. Double that over and cut that as well. All this is doing is basically adding a little bit more grip to the servo when I put it down. Can't get it off, can't get it off, can't get it off. So let's get, that's going to go there. Let's put that there. You have loads of people say, you're holding on your what's it's with, but no. Not. Whoop. And that one. And that. That's it. Now I can put these in, push them all the way down. That's one. And then that's another thing as well. These grommets, I have mine upside down. Can you see that? You know the brass grommets, servo grommets? I put mine upside down because I'm using screws with flat washer type heads on, so they push down on the bottom of the grommet and then that bites into the wood without it crushing it. Wrong. That's it. Same there, get it all the way across and squeeze. Right, now that they're fixed, I can drill holes, fit screws with my trusty handheld drill bit, and then we can screw them down. Back in a sec. Right guys, so we now got two nicely moving canards that go in and out really easily. So that means now that they're really free, there's going to be no friction against them at all, because to be fair, you don't want any friction when it comes to these things, because they're an integral part of the aircraft when it comes to flying. And if you have one of these seize up, then your model is going to come crashing down to the ground. So we'll get the servos out now that we're going to use on here, and the servo mounts, and we'll get them installed. I'm getting all this ready because, like I say, I still need the control horns for the actual canards themselves, which I should get hopefully on Saturday. Right guys, deceiving as it is, this plate is lining up like arsehole, like so. I can get to that screw, I can get that screw, I can get that screw, but I can't get that one. So I thought to myself, how am I going to do this? Hidden underneath here is a hole. I can just see it, I can feel it. So you've got to cut this out where this hole is. There's one on the other side, so only two places where there are holes. So you've got to cut those out so you can get a screwdriver in there to do up the screws to hold these plates on. Now, as well as having them screwed down, I'm actually going to put some Yoo-hoo pour, not Sino, Yoo-hoo pour on the bottom here. So if anything happens, one of the servos goes kaput, I can take the screws out and I can pull this out. Why don't you just screw it in? Well, basically because I want more security. So the glue's going to help it bond better, the screws are going to help it stick better. Did I get that the right way around? The glue's going to help it stick better, the screws are going to help it bond better. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm going to do, guys. Right, let's get on with that now. This is an old 1.5mm hex driver that I had that snapped on me, but it still comes in handy for doing stuff like this. There you go. It's a lot smoother and a lot neater than trying to cut it with a knife. And not only that, it makes the edges go hard and it stops the plastic from peeling. Right, so you can just see I put a bead of pour glue on there, so that is going to make it stick down a little bit better before I put screw in. I'll get that one lined up first and screw that down. You would have thought that the rest would follow, but who knows. Let's look at it and see that'll go down there somewhere now. Okay, that's going in. That's that one in. Now for the other side. On a screw that's compatible. Can't find me all. Got it? Oh hell no! Where's my old? Is that one? That's going in. Oh, there it is. Right, shove that one in. Screw that one down. Don't over tighten these so that it strips the wood underneath, because like I say, you've got a combination of glue and the screws holding them in place. And I've just dropped that one. Oh, that's gone. Oh, there it is. Nope, that's gone. Come on. Ouch with you. Magnet. Here we go. It's a bit tight getting to it. You knob jockey. It's a bit tight getting to this one as well. I've done it again. Get in there. Is there a hole here as well for that one? No, should be really. Yeah. That's it. That's tight already. Right, get the rest of these screws in, get the other one done up to the other side, and I'll come back to you. Okay gang, these are fitted in all nice now. They're nice and firm, they're going to go nowhere. We've got spaghetti starting to build up in here, but that can't be avoided. But yeah, so I'm going to do the tail wheel now, sorry, the nose wheel servo, and put all that in. Right guys, some might say this is a bit overkill, but again, I've gone for the disc servo horn, 4 screws on a carbon fibre pull system. So that should work really nicely and shouldn't have any issues with that. Sometimes you get these little 39-gram servos and they're just pathetic, but this is another 11 kilo torque servo, so it's got plenty of pull, or in this case pull, and we're going to mount it into her. So get that sorted, feed the wire through, and then add to the spaghetti. Right guys, we've got the canards sorted, as you know. I've put the nose wheel in and I've fed the wire up through here and connected it via a wire lead to the rudder. I'm now going to put a control horn on the rudder because I've not got one on the rudder yet, and then I'm going to connect them to the servo tester to make sure that they're going to go the right way. I may need to put a servo reverser on because I don't really want to put these in a separate channel if I can help it, because I'm going to have enough channels taken up with the canards, ailerons and elevator. So I'll get the link done on the tail and then we'll try that. Right guys, that's the rudder fitted. Noisy. That's the rudder fitted. I've now actually got to fit the nose wheel and drop it down to make sure that the other servos are going the right way. Well, actually I might be able to do that. Hold on a second. Right guys, we're running towards the end of this first part of this video because there's too much to do to get it all done in one video. The video's going to be about 5 hours long. So I'm going to fit the nose wheel. Actually no, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the wiring from each of the wings and disconnect them from their, there we go, multiplex leads, and I'll feed the multiplex leads through the aircraft to the front here, and then plug them into the wings so I know which one is which basically, and label them up. So we've got, like, let's grab not that wing, yes, that wing. So we've got the multiplex connectors here, connecting the servos and for the elevators and the ailerons, but we haven't got one for the retract servo. So we're going to need to do the retract and feed the retract through so that it comes through the same hole as well. Helps if you get it in the camera shot. We're going to feed the wire through to where these ones are so they can all come through the same hole. So I'll only have 2 plugs to connect when it comes to wiring up the wings. This one for the ailerons and the elevators, and then the other one will be for the servo, for the retract system. So let's get that done. Right guys, I've got the wires fed through for the multiplex lead. So if I plug that in now, like so, don't need to put the wing in. I've got the 2 wires here sticking it. So you should be able to figure out now which one is which. Just by plugging in this. Right, so that one there is a aileron. So disconnect that. Orange is aileron. Where is my marker pen gone? There it is. So right, aileron 1, A-I-L-S. What does that stand for? Starboard. That means that this one, we'll plug it in anyway, just to make sure it works. This one should be the heavelator. Oh, press it in. Right, so that's the elevator. That's the elevator, so that works. So we'll put elevator starboard on the servo. E-L-E-S. Elevator starboard, and that's it. So at least I know now that these are going to be what these are going to be connected to, because this can only go in one way, so you can't get that one wrong. So now I can start doing the other wing. So I'll come back to you when that's done, and I think I'm going to call it quits on the video because I've got tons of footage so far. Well, that's going to do it for today, guys. I have done a fair amount on this, and I do not know what these 2 connectors are here because I've got to write on them. Oh, I don't, that's alright, that's elevator. But yeah, we've got the canards all sorted out. We've just got to wait for the control horns that I'm waiting for. We've got the fin fitted, the rudders fitted, the servos for the rudders fitted, the servo for the, what I've just done. The multiplex leads, thank you, they've all been fitted in and they've all been glued and wired into place. And as you can see, the spaghetti is starting to get like a lot, so you can soon tidy that up. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys, appreciate your support. Click the old like, subscribe button for the more content and the notifications for when this second part will be coming out, which will hopefully be in the next couple of days because I'll be working on this for the next few days anyway. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you soon.